Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 57, Phone Apps for Small Business.
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Small Biz Life. Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Small Biz Life. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for being with us again this week. And if you're new to the show, thanks for joining us. Thanks for checking us out.
Yeah, we love having you.
So I just want you to take a second, look at your phone, make sure you're subscribed to the show.
Yes.
Okay, because that's really important. Otherwise, you might miss an episode of Small Biz Life.
They are all action-packed and good to go.
That's right. And this one is super action-packed.
Yes.
We have a lot going on this week. But first, my name's Kristen Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And we're a husband and wife team of small business owners who are walking this journey with you through the small biz life.
I like to think of it as we're in the garden with you, gardening out those little problems that you run into as you're doing your small business.
That's right. We're helping you weed, right?
Yay.
Yay, I hate weeding.
Yeah.
So this week we're talking about apps for your phone and apps that we think can help you with your small business, either to save time, to be more productive, to kind of help you when you're on the road and you're away from your laptop or your desktop. And the reason that we thought about doing this episode was because we actually just got new phones.
Yes.
So we got the post-explosive battery, right? Note 7s.
Yes.
Just because we had Note 4s before, and when we changed cell phone providers, they gave us free phones.
Yeah.
And we were both like, oh my God, the screen is too small.
Yes.
Oh my God, I can't. I just can't.
And I really use the stylus a lot. I like the note-taking capacity with it. I feel like I'm writing notes down.
Right. So that's kind of what prompted us, because rather than like pulling everything from our old phones onto our new phones, we decided to kind of go back through and selectively put things on our phones.
Yes.
And we were like, what are the things that we really want to keep and the things that we, are going to not transfer over.
Yeah, I have a horrible tendency whenever I'm trying to find a new app is I'll download 5 or 6 and I'll play around with them, and then I'll end up with one. And later on, I'll go back and remove those apps I don't use.
Right. So,
which is a lie.
Yeah. And I kind of went through too, because when you have Google, it'll keep track of like every app you've ever downloaded on your phone. So I kind of went through and I'm like, no, I didn't like these, remove these from the list, and kind of helped bring the list down. So we have these in categories, and, if you want, the full list of all the apps, go to smallbizlife.com.
Yes.
Click on the show notes for episode 57.
And for some of these, there might be a better iOS version, especially for photo editing. I know there's a really good one for iOS, but we're not going into that because that's outside of our wheelhouse.
Right. So we're going to discuss things that we've got on our Android phones. And, we'd love to have you chime in, go into the Facebook group, facebook.com/group/smallbizlife, and, share some of your favorite apps with us.
Yes. Business productivity apps, and no, bubble games and strategy games do not count.
Right. Although I do have some of those on my phone, but I even cut that down a lot too.
Okay.
So, all right. So let's start with social media, because I think that that's something that people spend a lot of time on.
Yeah.
So we kind of picked some apps to help you stay off of social media.
Yes.
So the first one we're going to start with is Buffer.
Buffer, especially for the phone, it's wonderful.
So how do you use Buffer on your phone?
Essentially, when you add Buffer to the phone, it allows you to, through your Chrome browser, at least I use the Chrome browser, so I don't know about the internet browser or Dolphin or one of the other browsers, but Through Chrome, it'll allow me on the web to easily add stuff to Buffer. On sites that don't have a Share To buffer, it essentially creates one. So when you go to the Share To on the phone, Buffer is one of the apps right there.
Oh, that's awesome. So that really helps you when you find something cool and you want to share it later.
My big advice is if you want to set up schedules and stuff like that, do it in the browser. It might be better now, but when I first was using Buffer, it was really horrible for doing that. But it was very good for the sharing part, which is usually from on my phone and I'm somewhere and I'm going through news. I want to be able to share it out quickly, stuff like that.
Okay, that's awesome. I like that. I'm a big fan of Facebook pages and Facebook groups.
Especially the groups app is super important to help track if there are activity in groups that you like. If there are other groups that you go to intermittently, I like it because you can kind of stage how important a group is to you. In the app, you can sort of move the groups around and within that, so you can get to like the Small Biz Life group very quickly, where other groups, especially ones that don't have good content, I can get rid of them easy, or I can sit there and move them to the bottom because maybe I go there once in a while. But usually groups, either I go to weekly or I don't go to at all.
And the nice thing with the groups apps is you can set up which groups you want to get notifications from. So especially like if it's your own group, it will notify you when there's new activity.
And I'd highly advise doing that if you have a new group and you're trying to spur people interacting. You have to be top on that list. And so whenever people do something, you want to go, give it a few minutes, hop in, respond. When other people respond, you want to like it, give them that positive feedback that this group will give them feedback. And people are more likely, I think, to respond.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the reason that I really like these two apps is because it keeps me out of the Facebook app, right? And, the Facebook app for me is a huge time suck. Yeah. But if I just use the pages and the groups apps, then it keeps me off my wall and keeps me more focused on the business side of Facebook rather than the personal side of Facebook.
The only time I really use the Facebook group app when I'm working is if I'm going in to go to a group to share something out as myself. I want to be in the actual Facebook app so I can go to the group or the page, and share the content out to my Facebook profile.
Okay. So I think that, those are really good for helping save you time. I love the Periscope app.
Yes.
Because I like watching scopes. There are a lot of really good shows out there to help you, learn new things. Alex Pettit has a phenomenal show on like social media and technology.
Darius Arya has one of the best Periscopes out there for my business.
Yeah, because he's an archaeologist. So like he's constantly like showing behind the scenes in a lot of spaces that you can't get into as an individual. So even like, there are spots in the Coliseum and stuff that he's shown, which are great. Our friend Ronnie Harden does a show every morning called Coffee Talk at 8:02 a.m. And it's funny because like
all I ask is she does it an hour and a half earlier so I can visit it more during the week.
But the thing that I really like about her show is like I do all like my morning stuff. And then it's like her show comes on at 8:00, and instead of like watching the news or whatever, like I'll watch her show.
And it's kind of like an alarm too, because it gives you a goal to be ready by 8:00, and then when Coffee Talk is over, that's when you start your day.
Right, exactly. So, and Periscope is a really good way to connect with your audience, especially if you're on Twitter, because when you use Periscope, it's easy to share out to Twitter. It's easy to, you can even share it out to Facebook. But and I think as the technology evolves, I think it's going to, end up live streaming to Twitter.
Yeah. What I'm looking for too is YouTube has a lot of secondary apps they're starting to come out with. And I'm assuming that there's going to be a YouTube Live app when that's officially live.
Yeah, I think that'll be cool. And it's funny you said YouTube because the next one is the YouTube Creator Studio. Yeah. This is great because this allows you to do a lot of the creator functions on your phone.
It's a real pain if you want to do anything on the YouTube app outside of watch YouTube videos.
Right.
Which is cool.
Right. And even like if you're using the desktop version of YouTube, it's kind of clunky on the phone.
Yeah.
This will allow you to check your comments, to go in and check your stats, see how things are doing, all within the app.
And there's another interesting thing getting ready to come out through YouTube. It's in beta right now, and certain channel creators have it where they're going to create almost like a social media feed for each channel. So for each channel provider, just keep your eye out for that. You'll want to use that to help drive traffic as you're going along in YouTube.
Yeah, the kind of what's going on with Google right now is as they're kind of changing their model. So like we're seeing a lot of changes with Hangouts. We're seeing I don't think Google Plus is going to go away completely. It's kind of getting integrated into YouTube.
Yeah, I think it's going to be integrated into YouTube. I think the main thing for Google Plus going forward is really the communities there. It's like their Facebook groups.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of the other features are going to be directly integrated into YouTube, especially if they're video related, and probably into some of their other products as well, too.
Yeah. So I think, watch what's going on with YouTube and Google, because I think they're seeing like what Twitter's doing with Periscope. And I know Twitter's actually up for sale right now.
They've been up for sale for a long time, and they're going to always have trouble selling.
Well, but they're very actively pushing it right now. So yes. I think that there's an opportunity for like a Google who's been struggling with the social media aspect of their business to pick up something like Twitter.
I wouldn't blame them, because I know Google Plus is like, the way I always thought of it when it first came out was it's between Facebook and Twitter. It has the length of comments that Facebook has, but it's a feed like Twitter, not like Facebook, which I hate Facebook feed.
Okay, moving on. So the next two are to help you with your graphics for social media. The first one is Adobe Photoshop Express.
Yeah, and there's maybe possibly another social media one that we didn't list down. Oh, Instagram. It has probably one of the best, easiest photo editing apps there is too.
Right. So yeah, Instagram is a great one. If you're going into share to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you can do a lot of sharing within Instagram now, which is fantastic. But if you just want to edit photos outside of that, this is a really good way to do it, either with Adobe Photoshop Express, or another one we found is called Photo Director.
Yeah, and the Photo Director one's supposed to be a bit more of a comprehensive one. Another one of the big gigs for Android is there aren't a lot of great multimedia editors like there are on iOS.
Yeah, so that's kind of, I think some of the companies are trying to kind of fill that gap. So the next category we're looking at is calendar and email. And I think this is super important because I know like I've got a ton of different email addresses that come in through my phone. I actually do most of my email through my phone.
Yeah.
And then having a good calendar app so you can see your calendar.
I almost never do email on my desktop anymore unless it's a click through that doesn't work well on the phone.
And that's why I like having the bigger phone,
yeah.
Right? Because I do so much email on my phone. So for calendars, we actually both use something called Biz Calendar 2.
Yeah.
And what that allows you to do is it allows you to feed in your calendars from other sources into this one app.
Yeah. And it's actually Business Calendar 2, not Biz Calendar.
I'm sorry, Business Calendar 2. And it has a really nice widget. It actually has a whole bunch of different widgets, but I like using one of the larger ones. So it will tell me like my entire agenda for the day.
Yeah. I use the agenda one and then I stretch out across my entire phone. So essentially I have my Google search bar at the top. Then I have a giant widget with my agenda. And it's typically for the day you're on, but if you scroll down, it'll go forward, I think, a week or through that week. I'm not sure exactly. I haven't paid too much attention to how far, but you can scroll down a bit. And then you can click through for an actual calendar if you want to see it in the calendar. But I find Agenda View very useful for getting basic details of what's coming up next.
And, one of the things I really like about it, too, is that you can click in if there's an address, then you can click on the address and it will link to, whatever you're using as your navigation.
Yes.
Which is great.
I'll put Waze back on my phone.
Yeah. There's also another really popular one that's called A Calendar.
Yeah.
Which is similar to Business Calendar too. So I would check both of those out and kind of see which one you like better.
Yeah, and one of the things to keep in mind too is if you search for apps like and then use the name of what we give you, if they don't quite cover what you need, it'll get you in the ballpark so you can search for similar apps.
Right, exactly. One app that Jeff really likes that I'm not as big of a fan of is Inbox.
I love Inbox. On the phone, Inbox is the most essential app ever.
Now, one really nice thing with Inbox, and I think now that I have my inboxes under control, I think I might try it again. But one of the really nice things is that you can actually swipe an email and it will set a reminder.
Yeah.
And it will actually re-delivers that email to you when you want to see it again.
Which is awesome. So like you can do a reminder like when I'm at home, when I'm at the office, when I'm at a specific client. You can put in actual addresses for physical locations. So for coupons, they're great. You know, you have that coupon for a restaurant. When you go to the restaurant again, it pops up like a new email so you don't forget about it.
But you know, how many times are you like looking at your email and you're like, all right, I'm going to deal with this email, but not right now.
Yeah.
And it stops you from clearing out all your emails. And if you're like me, you've got stars on emails or you've got flags on emails. And
you try and use a complicated folder system and you then forget that stuff is in there and you forget about all of those folders because you don't use them much. And then later on, there's important stuff you're missing because of them.
Right. So I think Inbox is a really good tool for that. You know, it's just making sure that you can really, you know, get to inbox 0.
Yeah.
But those emails that you want to check out again will come back to you later.
Yeah. So you have nothing, but it literally re-delivers the email, and that's how it feels on your end.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
It'll also still hold on to the conversation thread. So if it's like something that has been a conversation going back and forth, it will like Gmail, it'll keep track of the conversation really good, so you can get all of the emails that are related if they're more than one.
So and I don't know this, I'll have to check and see. Can Inbox handle like Exchange server emails as well?
I believe they add the functionality in for that now. I'm not positive. I know the generic email app I was never happy with. But I don't have any Exchange hooked up to mine, so I haven't tried.
All right, maybe I'll try that because I do have one.
I'm pretty certain when I set it up on my new phone, though, it asked me if I wanted to connect my Outlook email.
Okay, that's cool. Then I'll definitely check that out on the new phone. Okay, let's talk about document management because I think this is one that like we get so much stuff when we're out on the road, you know, or there's stuff that we need to check. So for document management, I think the first thing that we want to look at is Office for your cell phone and the Google Suite, which they're now calling G Suite. This is for Office, it's Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. Mm-hmm. For the G Suite, the Google Suite, it's Docs, Sheets, and Slides.
Yep.
But essentially what these let you do is they let you view documents on the go, edit documents on the go. If you're doing like a PowerPoint presentation, you can actually have it on your phone, either through PowerPoint or through Slides. So it gives you a lot of flexibility when you're out on the road. Because I know like a lot of times people send me documents that I have to look at, or like they'll send me spreadsheets that I just have to look at. So these two will allow you to view that stuff on the go.
Most definitely. Yeah, no, I actually have both sets of those on my phone because if it's a native Office document, which I do use a lot of, Excel and PowerPoint especially, and Word, I'll use them through there. But I do actually use a lot of Google documents as well too. So I'll usually use the native app for it. There are a lot of Office style apps out there, but the thing is, if you use Office at home, these apps are free.
Yeah, that's one thing that's actually really nice.
Yeah.
So.
It also gives a good case if you're looking for something mobile to track your documents for workplace. It makes Office 365 really appealing.
Yeah, it does. And that's why, and even like, you know, if you're using everything Google, even like, you know, the Google Suite.
It'll pull them in the same way.
Yep, exactly. All right, so you're a big fan of S-Note.
Yes, I use S-Note all the time for when I'm at meetings where I need to take notes. I can sort of tag them and categorize them and keep track of them. It's sort of like a light Evernote, but the thing I like is I use my stylus and I actually write the notes down like I would have one of my notebooks in front of me. So for things that I don't use notebooks for, I actually use S-Note for.
Yeah, and I like it because my notes are always with me.
Yes.
So...
And you could probably use it in accordance with like Evernote as well too, which is a very popular one and is probably a more robust piece of software. But hey, I like the S-Note because it comes up very easy with a push of a button on my stylus.
Yeah, and I know for the iPad that I have, there's a built-in note app for that. And one of the things I really like about it is I actually create folders for categories of meetings that I go to. So, these standing committees that I'm on, I can have a folder for that and then I can see all the notes. Yeah. So, if you're using an iDevice, the built-in note function is fantastic.
Yes.
It's really good.
Because it reminds you to do stuff. Like, for example, if I was listening to a great podcast like this, I'd want to share it out with at least a couple other people. So I would have a note and I could set a reminder for it to pop up next time I see my friend, to pop up and say, oh, tell them about the Small Biz Life podcast. And, if they don't even know how to use it, I can get on their phone and I can walk them through how to get that specific podcast, Small Biz Life. And I'd actually also show them, how they can search to find other wonderful podcasts as well, too.
Good promo there. Nice job. Look at that. Okay, the next one that we want to talk about is something that Jeff found called Camcard.
Yes. And this is a newer one. I haven't played around with it a lot yet, but I love the idea of it. And it's rated pretty good. And the idea is you can take a picture of a business card and we'll try to pull off the information and put it in the correct box. It's not super intelligent, but on especially basic business cards, it's really pretty good about picking out what's the fax phone number versus the home phone number versus the work number, depending on how many numbers. It's pretty good at picking that kind of stuff out. And it's also good for the name and not so good, but email's pretty good. It looks for patterns that match and tries to bring stuff in. So sometimes people's decisions kind of confuse it, but not always.
Well, and I think it's interesting because, it kind of makes you think about what you're doing with your own business card, because I know like people like really different business cards now. And I know like your business card for World Builders Anvil did not pull in well.
Yeah.
So
but it's also a low contrast card.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you kind of want to think about that as people are going more digital. They want to scan business cards in. How is your business card going to help them do that?
One of the lessons I learned working in the industrial engineering group at UPS is one of your jobs in business is to take away people's excuses. Mm-hmm. The easier you can make it for them, the more likely they are to help you out.
Right.
Or to do what they're supposed to sometimes.
But at least the nice thing with that is that it helps you get contacts into your phone. Right. So that I think is really helpful.
That would be a smart thing to do.
That would be a smart thing to do.
Because one day I'm going to go through all those old business cards and I'm going to put them in my phone like I should have the first time.
Well, now you've got the Cam card to help you do that.
That's right.
Okay, so let's talk about storage a little bit. You guys know that we're on the road a lot and we're constantly on different devices. So I'm a huge fan of Google Drive and Dropbox.
I use both of them. I use Dropbox more for personal stuff. I back up my photos there and stuff. However, Google Drive is really where I do my document management storage through. And I'm going to actually put up a few screenshots, I think, in the show notes this week to show how anal I am at naming stuff. And part of this is from my programming background, where you get something with a lot of things connected, you need to be able to find them consistently.
Yeah, no, and I kind of do the same thing. That Dropbox has a great feature that'll automatically back up your photos. And so I use Dropbox for photos and Google Drive for all my documents. Yeah. And that's just so I can get stuff anywhere I go. Mm-hmm. So especially, if I'm taking pictures for, future blog posts, Dropbox was great when I was doing a lot with like recipes and stuff like that on my other blog, because I could take all the pictures on my phone and they would automatically go to my Dropbox.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful. And I'm kind of like you, that I'm really anal about Google Drive and all my folders.
I'm exceptionally anal. And it's to the point where if it's a common folder, that I'll use common names in certain folders. Like, Like if I'm in a website, there'll be like an images folder and stuff like that. But actually, I'll add a couple A's in front of it so they're always alphabetically near the top. So those common folders that I'm more likely to use, I'll put stuff into. And it's the point where sometimes you go in there and they're all A's, but that doesn't hurt you either. But then if there's something specific to like there that I need to create a folder for, I do.
Yeah. So, and the other thing, that I like about Google Drive is that, I'm less concerned about one of my computers, failing because all of my important stuff is up in the cloud.
Yes.
And I can access it from anywhere. We've talked about this next one, a ton of times, Cam Scanner. I love Cam Scanner for getting rid of receipts, for helping me organize, paper documents. It's really easy. You just take a picture, it turns it into a PDF. You can do multiple pages. It's a phenomenal app, to help you, because I know, like, do you ever open your wallet or you open your purse and it's just full of receipts?
No.
Well, that's because you give them all to me.
Or I just throw them away. I'm horrible with receipts.
Yeah, see, Cam Scanner really helps me make sure that, even like, I love it for like when we have a large purchase.
Yeah.
That I'll just take a picture of the receipt and then I know I have it. So if there's a problem, if I have a warranty issue, if I need to know when we bought it, I know I've got a picture of the receipt.
And typically you do most of the business purchasing. So most of my receipts are
like Wendy's.
Maybe.
And the last one we want to talk about for document management, and Jeff mentioned this one already, is Evernote.
Yes.
One of the nice things with Evernote is that it will allow you to keep documents across multiple platforms. So you can save websites, you can save PDFs, you can save documents, pretty much anything that you can imagine you can save in Evernote.
And the searchability through Evernote, you can do really extreme stuff with it between tagging and categorizing and the actual content of the of the documents as well, where there are people who really have very crazy Evernotes.
Yeah, and there's actually there are a couple people who have written books or done courses on how to use Evernote really effectively. If you want to go towards Evernote and this is really going to be,
it makes a lot of sense,
right, the thing that you're going to use, I would recommend that you invest in a course like that. And I mean, here's the thing, it's like, we've talked about, we use Google Drive for this, we use Dropbox for that. You have to come up with a system.
Yeah. And where Evernote would make a lot of sense is for actual sort of what you would think of as Word style documents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can really do anything with spreadsheets in there, or you might be able to store other types of content, but it's not really built for that. It's really built for your Word style documents. If you have a lot of Word style documents, it's a great thing to put into your toolbox.
Or even if you just want to archive websites.
Yeah.
It's really good for that. And that's kind of what I use Evernote for. But with some of these other tools, like, okay, I want this article to share with my community. Well, I'm going to put it in Buffer.
Yeah.
Or I want this PDF. Well, I'm going to put that into Google Drive.
Yeah.
I have this system that I'm trying to not store stuff.
Yes.
To go through it someday to do something with it. And that's the problem I found with Evernote is I was constantly putting stuff in there.
Shove stuff in there and then it just stays in there forever.
Right. And I never go back and look at it.
And if you're not good at categorizing at the moment, it can disappear.
Right. So, a lot of this, especially with document management, is you've got to come up with systems for how you're going to do things. That's super important.
And you really want to pick ones that play into your strengths.
Right. And that's the thing is like if you find like you're constantly like you're saving all this stuff and you're never getting back to it. And you've got to think about, why am I saving this stuff? Mm-hmm. Am I really going to do anything with it? Maybe I shouldn't. You can always search for stuff on Google.
Yes.
So, it's not super important for you to save everything.
No.
Right? Because most of the stuff that you're being sent in your email is a link to a blog post or a link to an article. If you need it later, Google it.
Yes.
Get rid of the documents, fewer documents.
Even though the one thing to be careful on is if the source you're getting the document from might get rid of it, you have to download it and store it.
But make sure that you really have to store it.
And you can also use programs too that are pretty nifty that will print things to PDFs, which is a great way if there's an actual web page that you want to keep and you're not sure if the domain is going to remain. Great way to do it is you just print it out like you would any other page and then print it to a PDF file and throw the file somewhere.
Okay, so the next category is travel. And these are apps that we actually use a lot because we're traveling a lot now. So, okay, so my favorite is still Mile IQ. And we talked about this a lot. But Mile IQ tracks all my mileage for me, so I don't have to worry about it. You know, I don't have to worry about missing out on mileage because it captures it all for me.
Yeah.
So that is still my absolute favorite travel app. My next one is Waze.
Yes.
I love Waze. WAZE.
Yes.
Waze is it's a navigator.
Yes.
Essentially, but it's a really smart navigator because what it does is it tracks data from its users and it allows users to submit things like, hey, there's a pothole in the road. Hey, there's a cop.
Or there's, I've seen great ones where it's like, this exit is closed.
Yes, that's actually happened to me that I've been going somewhere that I know how to get to. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this is closed. You can't go that way. You have to go a different way.
Or if you're going through somewhere that has a tendency to have traffic the time of day you're going there, or maybe even intermittently there could be strange traffic in an area, you definitely want something like Waze because it's by far the best at figuring out where the traffic actually is, monitoring to make sure that if it's slowed down, that it's still slowed down. It'll get rid of it as it's cleaning up much faster than like a Google Maps will. So it is by far the best driving navigator I've ever used.
And I actually use it even when I know where I'm going, just because traffic around here can be so crazy or like there's a lot of construction going on right now. This will route me around that automatically.
Yeah, especially for me, like, I go to Hartford a lot where there's a lot of traffic every day. And I use it going to and from wherever I'm going because traffic and construction can pop up and there are all kinds of things that can really back up the traffic around here.
Okay, so the next one is Google Maps.
Yes.
Okay, so, like we prefer Waze, but Google Maps is also an option.
Yeah, and it's probably the best one for actually getting the best directions. They put the most money into it. But once again, I really haven't seen an issue with Waze.
The one reason that I have Google Apps or Google Maps is that Google Maps is really good if you're walking somewhere.
Yeah, especially it'll incorporate transportation or walking, other types of things beyond driving your car.
Right. So like we were just in Boston last weekend and Jeffrey wanted us to get off at a particular subway stop. And from where we were getting off, we could not get to the connection that we wanted. But we knew that we weren't super far away from where we wanted to go.
Why is the government center closed?
I know. Government center should never be closed in Boston, but it was. So we couldn't get from the green line to the blue line. But we knew that we were relatively close. So Jeff opened up Google Maps and said, okay, this is where we want to go. And it gave us walking directions for how to get there.
The only thing to keep in mind is if you use it for like car navigating later on, to make sure to switch it back from walking to car driving, or you might get shocking times when you see how long it's going to take to get to where you're going to go.
80 hours. Yeah, no, you got to make sure that you do that. Plus the thing is too, is like, it knows like, okay, I can walk down a one-way street the wrong way, but I can't drive down that street. So yeah, that's another reason. We're big fans of Uber whenever we travel. Mm-hmm. We use Uber a lot to get to the airport, to get from the airport to the hotel if we're not going to rent a car. So, that's a great app to have because, you can just stand there, request a ride. The rides are really reasonable. There have been times like when we were in Chicago this summer, it was half the cost to use Uber. Yeah. That it was to use a cab to go to the same place.
And you can even do other ones like Lyft, which is a similar system, which is a little bit easier to use because it integrates tip. We haven't really used Lyft, so I don't know like cost-wise how well it works out. And then there's actually ones for cabs too. So if you want to use a traditional cab, especially your bigger cities now have interfaces with cab companies as well too.
Yeah. That's one thing to know. So Lyft, you can tip in the app. Uber, you can't. So you have to have cash for that. And I tip the drivers because these people hustle.
Yes.
And these are all like small business owners. And it's funny because like a lot of the people that we've interacted with on Uber, and I'm assuming Lyft would be the same way, is they're small business owners.
Yeah.
We've had like people who are realtors, that have picked us up. We've had people that, owned another business and they're doing this on the side. So, I like that there's like this entrepreneurial spirit with Uber and Lyft. So, I love those services. They're great. When you're traveling, I really like to have Yelp and TripAdvisor on my phone because it helps me find restaurants and things to do. And I know you don't like Yelp. But I think, when you're somewhere that you've never been before, it gives you like a list of like what's around you with the reviews. You can use Google for this also.
Yelp has a really bad history of essentially trying to force business owners into playing ball with Yelp and giving Yelp money, or and if not, sometimes the algorithms show the bad reviews and not the good reviews. Yelp is shady as all crap.
Okay, all right. I like it because it gives me a baseline list of places.
And maybe it does. Maybe its reputation is not deserved.
I know it got a lot of bad press for that, so I think they're actually cleaning that up.
Good.
So, I like having my airline apps on my phone. So the two airlines that we're flying with right now are Delta and Southwest. And so I have both of those apps on our phone, especially because we're traveling a lot right now. So it just makes my life easier. It will alert me if my flight is late. It allows you to change flights really easily from the app. If you fly enough, you can do e-tickets through the apps. So I think those are really great to have.
There's another category for frequent flyers, like lounge and airport maps. I've noticed there really aren't any really good reviewed ones, though, so I really don't feel able to recommend any. But if you're traveling a lot through airports, you might want to check out an airport lounge or an airport map app.
Yeah. I love having the Priceline app on my phone because you can get really good last minute deals, especially like if your plans change. I know a couple of years ago when we had a big storm, we were actually able to use the Priceline app to find a really good hotel deal after the storm when nobody had power.
So the thing to remember that the services like Priceline actually buy blocks of rooms. So if you go to a local hotel, they might be sold out of rooms, but some of those rooms might be empty because they've been pre-bought from services like Priceline. And a lot of times you can get better deals. They're not as agile at adjusting for bad weather as local hotels are. A lot of times the prices go through the roofs, but the Priceline rooms will be what they were the day before.
Right, exactly. If you're traveling to a particular city, you might want to see if they have a transit app.
Yes.
Like I know Boston and New York have transit
Hartford
apps.
has one now, and I was actually helping a friend out get used to the app.
Oh, cool.
And they're pretty amazing because like it'll show the buses that are out where they're at in the route. The next bus that's coming to your stop, is it the right bus or the wrong bus? Obviously more useful the more mass transit there is, though.
Right. But that's really good if you're going to rely on public transportation where you're going. And then my last one is using your contacts. So this was actually a tip that was given to me by a woman at the Marriott in Quincy, because I was kind of complaining. I'm like, it kind of sucks when you send your emails and my entire Marriott rewards number is not in the email.
Yeah.
I know like Hyatt puts the whole number in there, Hilton does. And she's like, well, just set up a contact on our phone with our 800 number and put it in there. And I was like,
yeah, because I'm probably going to have my phone.
But that's the thing. So you can do that. If you don't want to have the app for Hyatt and Hilton and Marriott and Delta and Southwest and all these apps on your phone, set them up as contacts with their 800 number. and then put your frequent flyer number or your hotel rewards number in the contact.
Awesome.
And then you've got it with you wherever you go.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, so I really like that, and it saves you
10 points to Marriott.
There you go. And it saves you space on your phone, which is good. Okay, money management. So a couple things real quick. Most of the online bookkeeping software has their own app now. So QuickBooks has an app, Wave Apps has an app, FreshBooks has an app. So that's a really good way for you to be able to check in on your books. You can do invoicing on the fly. It allows you to keep up with your bookkeeping wherever you go. Most of them have the ability for you to scan receipts and put those directly into the software. You can actually open up the app, scan in receipts, and a lot of them are really smart, and they know, they can read the name, they can read the amount. So that's a really good thing to have. You also, I like having my bank's app on my phone because it allows me to transfer funds. It allows me to do bill pay. So if I'm like, oh crap, I got to pay this bill, I can do it right through my bank's app. I can see how much cash we have at any time.
The banks that are coming out, and I'm sure most of them have it, if not all of them at this point, where you can actually do your deposits through your bank app.
Oh God, I love mobile deposit. It just makes me so happy. It's very rare now that people send me checks because I'm using QuickBooks to receive payments. Or a lot of businesses use Square to receive payments, and there's a great Square app. But when I do get a check, I can actually deposit it right through my phone. So that's pretty awesome. So Square, if you use that service, it's great. And I know if you use like QuickBooks for your credit card processing, they actually have a card reader that you can get so that you can process payments through your phone. So most of them are doing that now. So check to see, depending on which accounting software you use, what do they integrate with, or do they have their own system?
And for the love of all that's good and gracious, if you're one of these people, you sell jewelry, you go to like local fairs or conventions and sell stuff. If you want to sell stuff, don't expect people to have cash.
Yes.
Have a card reader, please. There's been times where I've actually wanted to buy stuff and I physically could not. And my desire to go to an ATM and return was zero.
Right. Yeah. And I understand, like, we all hate credit card fees. Yes, they suck. But you know what? It's a cost of doing business. And you have to think about how much business are you going to lose out on because you don't accept mobile payment. And
the same reason that big companies allow credit cards are the same reason you should be. And you should also be wary of using your credit cards because, was it 20% on average people spend more?
Yeah.
About 20% more via credit card than via cash or check.
Right.
So you don't want to cash their checks.
Right. So that's the thing. And yeah, you don't want to accept checks, especially if you're on the road, because trying to track people down when they don't pay you is going to be impossible. If that check bounces, you're not going to get paid.
Yes.
So, and plus too, it's like when you're traveling, you really don't want to carry all that cash around with you, that if you're just relying on cash sales. So it's kind of nice because, like, hey, I don't have to go to the bank. It's going to be processed. It's going to save me time because I don't have to go to the bank and handle this, or I don't have to deposit the checks. So, just work it into your pricing.
Yes.
And PayPal has an app to do this. There's lots of different ways you can accept payments. Just kind of look at your accounting software, right, and see what will work with that.
And the thing is too, if there are different fees for different things that you're doing, unless you're in a really competitive space where you have to maximize the price, just whatever the most expensive fee is, use that as your baseline to add into your cost.
Right, exactly. I love Facebook Ads Manager for my phone. That's a great app if you're running Facebook ads. I don't so much like creating ads on it, but it lets me monitor what I'm spending. If an ad isn't working, then I can pull it down. If I want to run like, a flash promotion and I've got an existing ad, I can throw that up real quick and set my budget and get it going. So, that really helps. So I don't have to like wait a whole day to go, oh crap, this ad isn't working. Yeah. I can change it around on the fly. And if you use AdSense, the AdSense app is amazing. It is so much better than even the desktop version because it breaks out my revenue the way I want to see it. So it will tell you, it automatically tells you how you're doing today, how you did yesterday, how you're doing for the week, how you're doing for the month.
You don't have to even click around to get the stuff like you would have to. And yeah.
Right. And it even gives me at the bottom of the list my lifetime.
Oh, that's really awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, it's right there. And then if you want to see more detail on where the traffic's coming from, you can do that. But like, AdSense for the desktop defaults to a 28-day view. And I don't want to see that. I want to know, how am I doing this month?
Yeah.
Right. So I really like how, it displays, and I'm hoping that the desktop version will get there.
Yeah.
We'll change that. So yeah, if you're doing anything with AdSense, you want to make sure that you've got that one. And there's also an AdWords app as well. So, if you're doing things with AdWords, you'll probably want to download that as well.
Yes, that's a great research tool.
Okay, so a couple things under news and books. So Jeff's a big fan of InnoReader, which is an RSS feed app.
Yeah.
And I like Feedly.
The reason I like InnoReader instead is they have a lot of content pre-organized for you. And so you can see things broken down to basic categories like arts and culture or knowing things. They have different categories. So if you're looking for a specific like business, you can go into the business, scroll through, look for content that other people have already curated. And if they're active, you add them into your feed just from there without having to find them all through the web.
Nice. And, the reason that I like these readers is because it allows you to subscribe to the content you want without having to subscribe via email.
Yes.
So, I'm a huge fan of the email list, and I want people on my email list. I am on way too many email lists.
Yes.
And so if I know that all of the content that's coming out from this person is coming out because they're putting it on their blog and then it gets emailed out to me, I can put them in Feedly. Now the good content creators, though, aren't doing that.
Yes.
You're getting special content that's nowhere else in your email.
I'd also say, too, for me, it depends on whether or not they have something to offer beyond the content I'm reading on their site. So if it's a basic news site, I don't see the point of actually getting into a newsletter to have it emailed to me. I'd rather get it through the feeder. That way I can go through it if I'm interested in looking at archaeological stuff or business stuff or whatever I'm looking at. I can go into specific feeds and then I can share it out from there.
Right. And that's what, Feedly is really good, that if you've got some sources that you can share out, that you want to share out, it's a really good way for you to go, okay, I'm looking for something to share with my audience. Let me see all those sources in one place.
Yeah.
So that's where a Feedly is really good. And then I'm a huge fan of Kindle.
Yes.
But there's other ones too. There's, Google Books and, there's iTunes, but to have something where you can always have a book with you, so if you have some downtime, and think about the size of your screen right now. Even on your phone, you have a relatively big screen.
It depends on the phones. When they get much smaller than my Note, I don't like reading books on phones.
See, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll actually turn the phone the other way, so I'll turn it landscape and read that way.
That feels incorrect to me.
Well, but, it's nice to be able to say, all right, I've got, my entire library with me on my phone.
Yeah. And the nicer thing is, too, with that is like if you want to refer back, what's the name of that book that I just finished reading and I've started a new book and I can't remember the name or the author, I can just open up my Kindle and tell someone when I'm talking about the book.
And there's a really cool new feature that I just got an email about yesterday, that Kindle is expanding its lending library, that now you can borrow up to 10 books and magazines that are basically like in a pool. So there's 100 books that you can borrow for free.
Is that part of the Prime book?
It's part of Prime.
Yeah.
So, but they're starting to make it available for those people who don't have Kindles.
And here's a quick hack for people who have other bigger books that they've put a lot of time and effort in and don't want to give away for free. A good selling technique, I believe, is to have primers. So you have a short story, like say for one of my novels, I could write a short story, which leads into the story I'm talking about. That could be, giving away a 99-cent book. And then on top of it, maybe part of this Amazon Prime book feature so people can get it for free, and make sure the content and the editing is still good, but less words. And then you use that as, if you want to, get more of this adventure, go buy my ebook. Or if you want more knowledge that helps you from this white paper, go to buy my full business book.
Right. But I think, it's interesting because the books on the list, like The Hobbit was on the list, The Man in High Castle was on the list. So there's a whole bunch of magazines that you can get access to. And then basically, from what I can see, the way it works is you can have up to 10 out at a time.
Yeah.
And then if you want to add another one, you've got to give one back.
Yeah, and it's kind of a smart feature, and it's good for the content creators too, because if you're not going to buy it and you can find it through there, at least they'll get some kind of revenue back from it, instead of just having someone loan you or give you a copy of a book, which you can do, but as an author, I find it best to give something back to the writer.
Okay. All right, performance and security. So one of the apps that we both absolutely love, and we use this on desktop and we use this on the phones, is CCleaner.
Yes.
What CCleaner does is it will go through and it will clean out common areas of your phone or your computer that get clogged up with crap.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed because of the current version of Marshmallow. It's not quite as useful as it was in older versions, and hopefully that'll get straightened out again. But it's still great for cleaning out old call logs, old SMS messages. If you download stuff all the time on your phone by accident or on purpose, it'll help clean all that stuff up for you.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I really like, is like it even cleans out like your call history.
Yeah.
So, because think about it, every time somebody calls your cell phone, that uses memory on your phone, or even like all your old text messages. And you can even say like delete text messages that are older than 30 days, but that'll help clear up memory on your phone. I know when I did it on my Note 4, like before
the first time,
the first time I ever did, it cleaned like 6 gigs off my phone,
And I know I'm a bad person of when I'm looking for a document, I have a tendency to Google it. And if it's like a downloadable PDF, I'll download it. And then like 2 days later, I'm like, oh, what was that thing in that document again? And I'll just re-download it.
Yeah.
And so I'll have like 54 copies of a PDF or something on my computer or
like,
my phone.
Like when we're traveling, like I'll go to a website, like looking for restaurants, and like a lot of times the restaurant menu is a PDF. So you download that. And you end up having like all these downloads. You're like, what on earth is,
For the love of goodness, people, make your menus responsive web pages.
Oh, it's really bad. So that's a great app. I love that one. I use that on all my devices. I like Speed Test.
I do, but I'm not a believer you need it on your phone all the time.
Yeah, no, but I like, I think if you're traveling a lot and you want to kind of see like, hey, do I have enough speed to do like a Periscope?
Yeah.
Or do I have enough speed to do Skype or Google Hangout? It's a really good thing to just be able to go in, check to make sure. Mm-hmm. And typically, you can Google, how much speed do I need to run this?
Yep. Or, we've even used it at home where we've been having issues with our internal wireless network to see, okay, my computer's really fast, but my phone seems slow, and then you test and it's really slow for your phone.
Yeah. So that's a really good one. So again, that tests internet speed. It's called Speed Test. LastPass for your passwords.
And there are a lot of variations out there. If you're a Samsung user, they have Knox in all their phones now, which kind of is a similar idea, and probably better integrated because it's from the people who do it. And there are several other ones that are like it out there. But especially if you're a content provider and you have a lot of things online, you need really strong and long passwords if possible. That's what will help protect you from being hacked. So please find one that works well for you and use it.
Yeah. And we've been really happy with LastPass.
Yes.
I think it works really well across devices. And it'll automatically generate strong passwords for you if you want it to. It'll actually go through and audit all your passwords.
Yeah.
And
so especially
help
like
you
when you
change them.
start off, you'll know, okay, I've used the exact same password for 47 sites. Whoops.
Right.
But it'll make it easy for you to go through and clean that kind of stuff up too.
Exactly. So for security, we like Avast and Avira.
Yes.
And the reason that I have Avast listed in the show notes is because Avast just bought Avira.
Yes.
So I think Avira is going to be going away very soon.
Yeah. And probably merging of some of the features.
Right. And Avast also has an anti-theft app that you can download.
And Avira might have it too. I'm sure other people do, but it's nice when you have all of this stuff and a password vault on your phone and you lose the phone. You need the ability to wipe your phone.
Right. And, and one thing that I do with LastPass is on my phone, I have to use my fingerprint to get into LastPass.
Yes. I don't like using the password all the time, but I'm required to use the fingerprint to get into it.
Yeah. And that's really easy because you swipe, it's easy to swipe. It's easy to get in.
Or a lot of them will have like a pin set up. There might be one for that, but I just use the fingerprint one because I like it.
And it's quick.
Yes.
It's fast. And I know I'm not going to type it in wrong. And with that, I think it's important that if you're going to have all this stuff on your phone, you need to use the built-in lock screen.
Yes.
I personally use the fingerprint reader because, again, it's fast. A lot of times if I'm trying to get into my phone real quick, I'll type the password wrong, and I do have multiple fingers programmed in. So that way it doesn't matter how you're holding your phone, you can get in.
And to get in, I actually use the pin. I like pins from a little bit different standpoint to where it's localized to that one device. It's not something out in the internet. So if someone does figure out my pin, it doesn't compromise. They can't then log into everything with my pin. I use the fingerprint internally, but I use actually a pin to get in. But that's just my choice.
But use something because you don't want somebody to be able to swipe, your screen and get into all the stuff that's on your phone.
Yes, like my sister whose daughter has gone into her Facebook 1,000 times and put updates about how great her daughter is.
Yes. So, use that built-in lock screen. Okay, the last category that we're going to talk about is productivity.
Oh, yes.
And the first one is called If by IFTTT. And we've talked about If This Then That a number of times on the show. There's actually an app that you can download onto your phone to help you set up some of those relationships.
Yes. And I think it's good, especially like if you're out there and you're thinking about it. It's very quick typically to put them together. So don't make a note to do it later. If you have a few minutes and you have this brilliant idea of, gee, I wish like all my mentions where my Twitter handle was mentioned in Twitter, would automatically just record who did it into Google Sheet.
Yeah. And I have something like that set up as well.
Yeah.
And I like that because, you can't always get into Twitter, but it allows you to kind of go back and see that whole log.
Well, that too, especially like one of the clever ways to use Twitter is, it's a good way to find people who you should either be targeting as audience or targeting as an influencer. And that helps you keep track of who's interacted with you. And so if there's an influencer who's actually interacted with you, you want to try and interact back with them. I don't like automating responses that some people like to do. I don't like doing that. It's quick enough to take 3 seconds to do it through my phone. But which is the main way I actually interact with Twitter is through my phone. I don't hardly ever use it on the desktop anymore. But, I can respond to people later on if I want to do like a series of things to just get attention for my Twitter handle. I can just thank all these people who've tweeted me out.
Yeah, no, I think it works really well, and there's lots of stuff you can do with it. And like I said, there's lots of videos out on YouTube on how to use If This Then That. So, go check that out. That's a great tool. Nozbe, right? So we both use Nozbe to keep track of our task lists. I love having it on my phone because when I get an idea, I can just open that app. There's actually a ton of widgets.
Yeah.
So you can actually have like next actions, or even like add a task.
Yeah. which is a really useful one to have there.
Yeah, I use Nozbe for like grocery lists. So I'll have a task that's grocery shopping, and then you can have a list inside that with check boxes. So as you're at the grocery store, you can check stuff off.
And I think the thing I like about it too is you can use it in a team environment. It's not meant to be standalone. You can, if you get bigger versions of it, you can share tasks back and forth, and literally to the point where there's a team environment. So let's say you have a store, a retail presence, and that's not necessarily where you spend most of your time, but you have people who work there. You can put in messages to them like, take care of the delivery today, take care of this today, take care of that today. Or if it's an actual more of a professional relationship, you can actually share out what they need to get done.
Right. Yeah. So that's, that works really well. I love having my task list easy to see. I can have that next action, that next actions widget that tells me what I need to be working on. Which is really good too, because a lot of times it's like, I've got to respond to this email, or, I want to make sure I post today's episode in this Facebook group. I can do that from my phone.
Yeah.
When I've got that reminder. And the nice thing too is that Nozbe will integrate with Business Calendar too. So I can see my Nozbe next actions.
And the thing I like too is you can also set it up to say things to do on phone, and which is one of the categories I use. So like if I'm on my phone and I kind of look at my next actions and I'm not seeing anything that I feel I can do on my phone, I can actually go into the category for, what I thought I could do on my phone and look for stuff I could take care of when I'm out and about then too.
Oh, that's smart. I like that. That's pretty cool. I like the WordPress app. I'm a huge fan of that.
For purposes. And the one warning with the WordPress app is it does not give you the full functionality of all of the plugins that you've added to your site. And that's not the point of it. But you know what's great? If you really need to get started on that blog post and you're out at that 17th appointment for a kid, or you're out visiting the family and you're in the restroom for 30 minutes, pop open a new post, start doing it. Unless you trust yourself on the phone, I wouldn't necessarily publish it from there. But for getting it like post ideas and starting new posts, or even writing a whole post, if you're comfortable using the keyboard on your phone, do it.
Yeah, I think it's really good for drafts. And like I said, so what I'll do is I'll start a draft in the WordPress app, save it, and then when I get home, I can polish it, edit it, go through, add my images. But, a lot of times we have trouble finding time to write.
Yeah.
So you could even use it to outline a post and say, all right, these are the things I want to talk about, and then flesh them out when you get home.
Which makes a lot of sense, because a lot of times I use bullet points when I do either the World Builders Anvil. Chris and I usually develop them together for the other show, but I could put them up in WordPress directly into the thing, and I actually leave my outline. I call it my show flow for as part of the notes that go out with my show on that podcast.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And then the last one for productivity, Jeff found Microsoft Remote Desktop.
Yeah.
Which will allow you to connect in to your desktop computer.
Yes. And you can do that from a desktop to a desktop for years. And I didn't even realize there was one. I'm sure there are multiple products that do it as well too. But wouldn't it be wonderful if you could, I just can't do this one thing on my computer, or I can't afford QuickBooks Online. Well, maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can just do a free remote app into your desktop and take care of it from there.
Or if you forget a file and it's on your computer, or you need to grab a photo that's on your computer or something like that, this is a really good way to grab that.
Or maybe you want to show it to someone that you weren't expecting to see.
Right. So now with all these, one thing that I do on my phone is I actually create folders on my home screen. And one of the things I do is I only have one home screen. So you don't scroll through multiple screens on my phone, but I create folders with categories. So I have one for social media, and all my social media apps are in one folder. Mm-hmm. And it just makes it easier that when, there are frequent things that I need to go into, I have one for entertainment. It's got my games, it's got my Kindle, it's got, great courses, it's got PlayStation View. So if I want to like watch something or play a game or read something, that's one, one folder. But what I find is that it makes it a lot easier for me to find the things I use all the time.
Yeah.
I don't have multiple screens I've got to flip through to try to find things. And, it's one home screen.
And the great thing is too, if you're using an Android phone, not every flavor actually has a folder ability set up in it. But the great thing is you can actually quickly change the way it works. There's a very good free and paid, depending on what you want to do with it exactly. But there's a free and paid thing called Nova Launcher, and it has a really robust folder feature in there. So if your phone won't allow you to drag an icon on top of another one and create a folder, you can do it.
Right. But I think that's one thing that really helps with your productivity on your phone is to make sure that things are well organized so that you can find them and that you don't forget that you have them.
Yes.
That's why I really like using widgets. I really like using folders. And I kind of go through on a regular basis when my phone asks me to update things. And I don't just blindly say update all. I'll kind of go, am I using this? Like maybe I should just uninstall this instead.
Oh yeah. I do that too.
Yeah, and that's why you have 5 versions of different productivity things on your phone.
Not my current phone.
But yeah, so now might be a really good time to kind of look at your phone and say, all right, what's on here that I'm not using? Mm-hmm. And actually CCleaner makes it really easy to delete apps off your phone.
Yeah, you can go to CCleaner and pick apps and uninstall them on your phone, or if you have it on the desktop as well too. And I really highly advise it for a desktop computer as well too.
Yeah. So, go through, clean up your phone, do some CCleaner, remove some apps, and then go look at the list in the show notes for episode 57 and see, hey, is there anything here that could help you run your business more smoothly?
Awesome. And if there are any apps that we forgot, hey, go to either the Facebook group or hit us up on Twitter and let us know what apps we should have included.
Exactly. Yep. And if you like this show, make sure that in the next week you tell a couple friends about it.
Yeah.
If they don't listen to podcasts, show them how you listen to podcasts.
And if for whatever reason you haven't subscribed yet, take a second through whatever you're listening on and just subscribe quickly, because there's a lot of other great content that you might have missed that will make your life so much better.
Awesome. So thank you so much and have a great week.
This was Small Biz Life.